Today, it's February the 25th, 2010. It's exactly 5 years to this day. 5 years since the first two episodes of Avatar: The Last Airbender aired on Nickelodeon. My first impression of the series was that, oh, just another Japanese anime show that was adapted for America. And I had no interest in watching any episodes. In fact, I expected the show to totally bomb and be cancelled after 5 episodes. I was wrong. It turned out to be this huge success, and some people were calling Avatar the greatest cartoon of all that time. At that time, I thought absolutely no cartoon was better than the Fairly Odd Parents. But I didn't get into the series about the fourth to last episode of the first season aired, and I was becoming a fan of Avatar was all thanks to my best friend, Jeremy. He was an avid cartoon buff, even though he wasn't nerdy at all. One day while we were hanging out, he said, "Bro, you have to watch this new show, Avatar: The Last Airbender. It's so good." So I decided to, and watch an episode. It was the Kings of Amashu episode, and from that day forward, I was absolutely hooked on Avatar. It was like Japanese anime, but was American made. The characters were so interesting, and the plot was just so fantastic. I can't even describe it. Toph Beifong eventually became my favorite character, followed by Aang. In the 4 years that Avatar: The Last Airbender was in production, I'd watch every episode from its awesome series premiere, The Boy in the Iceberg, to its absolute epic series finale. Citizens Comment, Part 4, Avatar Aang. I had all of the Avatar video games, and of course all of the DVDs, so I can watch them all the time, when I want, where I want. So, yeah, I was a pretty big Avatar fan. Not anymore, though. Something happened. I experienced something that killed the way I viewed any episode, and the series as a whole. And to this day, I will never watch another Avatar episode ever again. Not even Avatar: The Legend of Korra when Adventure comes out. As much as it pains me to write this, I'll tell you what happened. My home was robbed over the summer while I was on vacation, and the burglars stole almost all of my DVDs, including my entire Avatar: The Last Airbender collection. I was crushed, but I knew something had to be done. I got a new security system for my house, which cost a fortune to put in. I planned to buy replacement DVDs. Only problem was that I was flat out broke. That security system almost cost me my house itself. So now, because I didn't have enough money for Netflix, I was without Avatar, except when they occasionally aired reruns on Nick. But then I found something very surprising. When my house was robbed, my entire bed was pulled apart for some reason, and in between the box screen and the mattress, I found a DVD with the magic mantra written on it reading ATLA 308. ATLA was obviously stands for Avatar: The Last Airbender, and 308 was the production code for the possibly strangest, scariest, and funniest episode of Avatar. Nightmares and Daydreams, when Aang becomes a notorious mess when he realizes invasion of the Fire Nation is in 4 days, causing him to have 2 embarrassing dreams where he forgets his parents and his math test when he goes to see Fire Lord Ozai. Then, he has a nightmare that was downright creepy, and that scene always freaks me out since I first watched the episode that aired in 2008. It's very strange how the DVD supposedly has only 1 episode. I had no idea where it came from, and I assumed it was a discarded disc when I burned some copies of Avatar DVDs. But when I put in my DVD player, which surprisingly wasn't stolen, I found it was something totally different. It was a menu with a black screen and only one option in white, blank text. Nightmares and Daydreams. Original, never-before-seen version. And with no other choice, literally, the menu was only 1 button. I pushed play button on my remote. This episode started off as normal, so I had no idea what made this so-called never-before-seen version so special. The sequence of events in this episode so far seem normal. Aang freaking out that the invasion is in 4 days. Katara trying to calm him down, and of course Toph's famous "Go to sleep already" line that always made me laugh. But then came the scene that used to scare me. The legitimate nightmare scene. And it's going to be really hard to describe the absolute bloody terror I saw. It was literally just the most gruesome thing I've ever seen. Maybe the most gruesome thing ever animated on this planet. the scene was changed somehow. Aang fell asleep, and the scene cuts to the nightmare. But this time, it was something different. Instead of the normal scene, it cut to an image of the four air temples. The sky was a deep crimson hue and looked like what I could describe the atmosphere in hell would look like. There was fire coming out of the windows of the air temple. Airbender monks were running for their lives, screaming and crying. Some were covered in blood. Some were lying dead in pools of blood. I realized now that the scene was just depicting the Fire Nation genocide on the air nomads 100 years ago. The scene started out with the Fire Nation troops invading the southern air temple, riding massive flying dragons. Unlike the rest of the series, where death is rarely shown and only implied, the scene depicts full-on bloody murder. The nomad monk screams were mixed in with scenes of different horror movie screams, creating one of the most painful sounds I've ever heard. This was hell. Then the nightmare cuts to the eastern air temple, which only housed nomad nuns and other female airbenders, and it was much worse when I saw in the southern air temple. The Fire Nation in the series is shown to be cunning and methodical in their atrocities. In the scene, they were just barbaric and animal-like. The first scene I saw was the airbender nun that Top basically introduced Aang to Appa was stabbed multiple times in the stomach by a Fire Nation soldier. There was blood rushing out of her middle section. Then the nightmare cut to another scene where a firebender is raping an airbender nun. Yes, you heard me correctly. Raping. And not only that, it was depicted so graphically that... oh my god. You could literally see every single anatomical body part. At this point, I was in complete shock. I was so tempted to reach over to the remote, eject the disc, and burn it and or crush it. But I needed to see what happened next. After the absolutely horrifying, pornographic, and realistic rape scene, I saw something that would haunt me for the rest of my life. An airbender nun screamed, "Not the nursery!" I assumed the nursery was where all the airbender babies were being taken care of. The nun walked into the nursery, and this blood-curdling scream pierced my ears and almost blew my television. The images were of dead, mutilated infants, some with their heads removed, some with their arms and legs chopped off, and some with bodies so burned that they didn't even look like babies. Then the scene cut to an airbender infant being brutally murdered by the Fire Nation soldier. All I could see was the absolute terror in the nun's eyes. The baby was still crying, and I'm trying not to cry as I read this. The Fire Nation soldier throws the crying baby against the wall with almost superhuman force, and it literally exploded. Infant body parts sprayed all over the wall. After that scene, I proceeded to vomit my brains out all over my room, because I was so horrified and disgusted by that absolute brutal, bloody, disgusting, and barbaric nightmare sequence. And all I wanted was, what kind of sweet, sick, twisted, savage bastards would animate that? How the hell did Mike and Brian not see this? After that horrific scene, the screen went back to an image of all the air temples on fire. Those savage Fire Nation soldiers succeeded with the plan to kill all the air nomads in an effort to try and destroy the Avatar cycle. Except for one. The boy in the iceberg, Avatar Aang. The scene cuts to Aang screaming loudly, waking up all of his friends. "What's wrong?" Katara asks. Aang replies, "The nightmares. They keep getting worse." I literally yanked the DVD out of the player and grabbed it, ran outside. I let out a primal scream, "Yeah!" And like a frisbee, I launched the DVD so far over my backyard, over the fence, and into the woods. I wanted that DVD out of my life forever. After weeks and weeks of nightmares about the episode, it then came to light that the episode has psychologically scared me, and my psychiatrist had told me that the only way to fight it was to never watch another episode of Avatar The Last Airbender ever again. And I took his advice. I wanted so badly to tell this story to someone, but no one will believe me. Some will, but others will disregard this as the biggest viral hoax in suicidemouse.av.